So today we're going to be talking about whether or not you can afford a house that you are looking at, or maybe unfortunately you're in a situation where you're already in a horse, in a house. Oh my God. I might be leaving that in there. Now, I just want you guys to know, I just wanted to share an update with you guys. I'm going to be doing a really massive holiday giveaway. I don't have the details for it yet, but I'm going to be giving away, for example, at least one free enrollment in my Stock Market Mastery course. I might be giving away a free membership to Passion to Paycheck as well, maybe a one-year membership. So I'm going to be doing a massive giveaway. I'll keep you guys posted on that, but I want you guys to leave me some comments in the description of other things you might be interested in, whether it be books, or do you want Amazon gift cards, or possibly, I don't know, an iPhone, something like that. Let me know what the major giveaway items are that you guys would be interested in, and hopefully I can make it happen and give back to you guys because you've given me so much. But anyways, let's get to the point of this video and talk about whether or not you can afford a certain house. And we're going to look at the numbers. And I'm actually going to be using Dave Ramsey's numbers here as well because I was doing some research. And he's like the really conservative side. And we're also going to share the traditional advice out there as far as whether or not you can afford a certain house. So first of all, let's talk about the traditional model of whether or not you can afford a house. The traditional model says that you can take out a 30-year mortgage on a property, and you should be able to reasonably afford 35% of your pre-tax income per month can go into your housing expenses. And this should also include things like your housing insurance as well, just so that way that's your total cost of your housing payment, as well as maybe your taxes and things like private mortgage insurance if you have PMI as well. So that's like your total housing bill right there. So according to the traditional model, that can be up to 35% of your monthly pre-tax income on a 30-year mortgage. Now, Dave Ramsey is very conservative, and he's honestly a genius when it comes to helping people get out of debt, and he's definitely a big inspiration to my channel, so I want to give him a shout out in this video. I'm sure he doesn't need it, but I really like his model as far as buying a house because this is a very conservative approach. He says that a 15-year mortgage is the only way to go. Don't even think about a 30-year mortgage. And the maximum housing payment is going to be 25% of your post-tax income. Now notice over here we said pre-tax on the traditional, and Dave Ramsey says even less, 25% of your post-tax income is his guideline for what you can reasonably afford for a housing payment. So let's go ahead and crunch these numbers using $100,000 for comparison's sake. That would be like a $100,000 mortgage, which is very inexpensive, but down at the bottom here, these are more practical examples, whereas the top one, I just wanted to use it for comparison's sake so you guys could see the drastic difference in the monthly payments of the Dave Ramsey model versus the traditional model, okay? So if you had $100,000 as a mortgage, for 30 years at 4%, your monthly payment on that 30-year mortgage would be $477 a month, which is obviously much lower than most people are paying for their housing payment for their mortgage. Now, following that Dave Ramsey model, on the same exact value of $100,000 on a 15-year mortgage at 4%, that housing payment is now $740 a month, so significantly more than that 30-year mortgage, obviously because it's a much shorter term. So if we were to follow this model, let's say you were trying to have a housing payment of $477 a month, what would your salary need to be to afford that following the traditional model? So according to that traditional model, if you had about $16,500 of pre-tax income, you would be able to reasonably afford a housing payment of $477 per month. Now, following the Dave Ramsey model, okay, if you had a housing payment of $740, because remember he says that the 15-year mortgage is the only option, then you would be 25% of $35,520 post, okay? Now that number is a lot closer to what most people probably take home. In fact, many people out there probably have $35,520 pre-tax income, all right? So the Dave Ramsey model is super conservative, and your model may fall somewhere in between there. I just wanted to show you guys the lenient side versus the conservative side. That way you guys can get an idea of where your number should fall. But if you guys are looking for the best case scenario, then I would follow that Dave Ramsey model. I mean, those numbers are in place for a reason. This guy knows what he's talking about, all right? So let's go ahead and do a practical example now, okay? So we know that the average salary is $44,148, and as such, your post-tax salary, assuming 33% taxes, would be $29,138 per year as your salary. So if this was your salary, if you were the average person out there, how much house can you afford? Now this isn't how much house you can buy, because you can buy a lot more house than you can probably afford because someone's going to lend you that money. But this is about what can I actually afford? How can I be comfortable with my life and not be burdened by a crazy housing payment? So following the traditional model there, okay, on $44,148, so your pre-tax income on that salary is $36.79, and following the traditional model, your housing payment can be 35% of that, or $12.87 per month. Now, how much house can that buy you? If we're assuming a 4% interest rate on a 30-year mortgage, then you could afford a $270,000 house. Now, would I go out there, if this was my salary, would I buy a $270,000 house? Absolutely not. I don't think that you guys should follow this traditional model. I think that is way too lenient, and that would put most people in a pinch as far as having almost a $1,300 a month housing payment when you're only making about $45,000 a year. I think that is way too high. Now let's look at the Dave Ramsey model just to compare. So 25% of your post-tax monthly income, which would be about $24.28 after we account for about 33% taxes, that would mean that your monthly payment would be $607 per month. That is what you can reasonably afford. Now remember, Dave Ramsey says a 15-year mortgage is the only way. So you could afford a $82,000 mortgage for 15 years at 4% interest. That would be what you could afford as far as the house. So that's just crazy to me, guys, that if you follow the traditional model, they say you can spend $270,000 on a house, while Dave Ramsey says you can afford $82,000 worth of house because he obviously says to do the 15-year mortgage. So where is your number going to lie? It all depends on your tolerance for risk and your comfort. Because if you're somebody who is good in other areas of your life as far as spending and you have your budget under control, maybe you can afford more house. Maybe you would be leaning more towards the traditional model. But if you're someone who is super conservative and you want to have a positive cash flow of $500 or more to invest or do something else with, then you're obviously going to be more towards that Dave Ramsey, that conservative model as far as what you can afford for a house. I want you guys to do these numbers for yourself. Figure out what your salary is, what you make per year, and then go through the traditional model and then the Dave Ramsey model and see how much house you could realistically afford given your current salary, all right? I know many people make the mistake of buying way too much house than they can afford, and there's a term for this called house broke. We mentioned this in one of my other videos, where pretty much your monthly housing payments eat up all of your income and you got barely 2 nickels to rub together at the end of the month. So you don't want to be in that situation. But then again, if you follow that Dave Ramsey model, I don't know what kind of house you're going to find for $82,000. Maybe you'll find a shed in the woods depending on where you're looking. But anyways, guys, I thought this would be kind of cool to compare these two and give you guys an idea of what you can afford for a house. If you guys enjoyed this video, please drop a like. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to be notified of future uploads. And as always, I thank you for taking the time to watch this video.